From our daily newsletter, the latest from podnews.net with co-hosts B2B Analytics. 2/3 of podcast listeners say it's easy to find new shows that they're interested in. 50% discover them from their preferred podcast app. A good description is the number one reason they hit play. That's all data from the podcast host's new Podcast Discovery Survey, which was published today. 166 people took that survey. Well, if you're looking for new podcasts, we'd recommend following the new Podcast Trailers show in your podcast app. The founder of ad agency Single Source Media has acquired a controlling stake in podcast ad management platform LiveRead. Single Source Media will also use LiveRead's tech platform for podcast ad management. New York Magazine publishes How YouTube Ate Podcasting, a piece from John Herman which argues that it's TikTok which laid the foundation for video podcasts. It also says that RSS has almost certainly hindered growth of podcasting. Video news website TubeFilter has highlighted Spotify's case studies for video creators, from Dropouts, Emily Fan, Good Children, and Talk of Thrones. Meanwhile, Spotify also promote audiobooks and podcasts to nourish your soul ahead of Thanksgiving. Podcastle has launched a new in-browser video editor, and MA podcasting students at City St George's, University of London, have partnered with the United Nations Population Fund to produce a podcast series highlighting the vital work of the organisation across the globe. In podcasting news, as President Trump prepares for his second term, NPR is launching Trump's Terms, a new podcast that examines Trump's return to Washington. We thought we were clever uploading an episode of the Pod News Daily podcast from a water bus in Venice a few weeks ago, but the rock and roll podcast Teaser Talk will kick off its next season aboard a cruise ship for Shiprocked 2025. For 2 decades, in the 80s and 90s, the International Mail System fostered a network of underground artists exchanging cassette tapes of music and homemade artwork, all under the radar of mainstream media. Cassette Culture launches today, tracking down some key figures in the cassette scene, and follows the web of connections outward from the UK across the world. The Spotify audio series Batman Unburied returns today. Unusually a Spotify exclusive, the audio series promises to take listeners deeper into the Dark Knight's story with a new season called Falling City. From Sony Music Entertainment, This Is History returns for a new season, focusing on the rise of one of England's most formidable kings, Edward III. Edward is bold, ambitious, and a dazzling warrior. It's just what England needs, but disaster is soon looming, because there's something on the way that no king could contend with: the Black Death. And finally, working on your own business can be busy, stressful, but often quite lonely. In a new episode, The Business Owner's Journey takes a look at loneliness in leadership and offers some ways to build an effective support system for yourself. It's hosted by Nick Berry. This podcast is sponsored by Co-Host. Uncover the seniority, departments, industries and companies your listeners work in using Co-Host's B2B Analytics feature to drive revenue. You can book a demo today. You'll find the link in our show notes. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.